Aloha and welcome to the joint hearing of the Senate Committees on Government Operations and of Housing. Today is Thursday, February 11th at 1:00 p.m. We are in conference room 225. I'm Sharon Moriwaki, Chair of the Government Operations Committee, and joining me are members of the committee. I see Senator Chang, Senator Gabbard, and let me have you, the Housing Committee Chairperson, Senator Chang, introduce his members.
Thank you, Chair. I see our Vice Chair, Drew Kanuha, and our committee member, Senator Rhodes.
Thank you. Before proceeding with the hearing, a few housekeeping announcements. This hearing is being streamed live on YouTube. You can find links to viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. In the unlikely event that we encounter major technical difficulties during today's hearing and must end it abruptly, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business at a later time, and that will be posted on the legislative website at capitol.hawaii.gov. So on the GVO housing agenda is SB 740, creating a Department of Housing with the Hawaii Community Development Authority, Hawaii Housing Finance Development Corporation, Office of Planning, and the Hawaii Public Housing Authority to be placed in the department for administrative purposes. The first testifier is Hawaii Public Housing Authority, Hakeem Wansafi.
Good afternoon, Chairs Moriwaki and Chang, Vice Chairs and members of the committee. The HPHA stands on its written testimony, and with your permission, we'd just like to emphasize that we strongly believe that being administratively attached to the Department of Human Services is very appropriate, considering that we have many programs that both serve the over 40,000 low-income populations throughout all of our PHA's, HPHA's rental assistance programs. And as DHS is not a housing agency, they do not impede with the duties of the board, which is the legally and financially responsible governing body of the Public Housing Authority, as mandated by federal law and by the ACC contract that we have with HUD. Further, just after submitting our testimony, Mrs. Medero's testimony caught our eyes as the Affordable Housing Task Force addressed this matter in 2004. And their comprehensive report presented their collective discussions and recommendations to the legislature at that time, separating the agencies and placing them under the appropriate department. In our case, putting us under the Department of Human Services. And I do agree that collaboration between the agencies is a must, and we have been doing so through the agency-to-agency communications and discussions, and also through the monthly housing director meetings that include all state and county agencies. Thank you very much for this opportunity to testify. I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Hakeem. Next, Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation, Denise Iseri Matsubara. I see one.
Good afternoon. Thank you, chairs, members of the committee. We stand on our written testimony, offering comments and concerns. I echo the same sentiments as Director Wansafi. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Next, from the Department of Human Services, Kathy Betts. Is she available? Okay, comments. Office of Planning, Mary Alice Evans.
Not present, Senator.
I hear you. Could you put your video on?
She said
Is she on?
they're not present.
They're not present.
Oh, not present. Okay. She had comments, strong concerns. Next, we have a written testimony. Oh, let's see. Do we have anyone else to testify on Zoom? Okay, we have written testimony from the Resident Advisory Board for HPHA, Desiree Quijano, with concerns. We have Catholic Charities Hawaii, Rob Van Tessel, with comments and concerns. Betty Lou Larson with comments from Catholic Charities Hawaii. And Homelani Shado, individual in support. And Nani Medeiros, individual opposing. Members, any questions? Okay, we will move on to I'll give the gavel to you, Senator Chang, for your committee on housing and GVO.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I'm going to apologize in advance. I think that there's some construction work happening next door, so there might be loud drilling sounds from my end. The second bill on today's agenda is Senate Bill 725 relating to the Hawaii Public Housing Authority, which adds the definition of housing to include all potential properties that could be developed by the Hawaii Public Housing Authority. We have two testifiers today. The first is HPHA in support.
Aloha, chairs and vice chairs, members of the committee. We stand on our testimony in support with the HPHA identifying many properties along the rail line and our redevelopment efforts. It is essential that we do not concentrate poverty in one property, and that because that hasn't worked. And all trends and studies show the social and financial benefit of developing mixed income housing. This bill makes it clear, as our redevelopment projects will have all income levels. Thank you very much for this opportunity to testify. I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Director. Any questions, members? Okay, if not, we'll proceed to our second testifier, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs in opposition.
Hey, good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees. My name is Wayne Tanaka, standing in for Sterling Wong with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Our testimony it indicates our concerns regarding the incentives this measure may create to encumber, ceded lands for, up to, a century at a time potentially. We do have language that's slightly modified to kind of address our concerns. It's slightly modified from what we put forward for the HHFDC bills because of the comments that they had. Our language is a little more streamlined. It doesn't require rulemaking. Basically, it says only if there are ceded lands to be developed, and only if those ceded lands are going to be encumbered for longer than 65 years, then there'd be some terms and conditions that OHA would have a chance to review to ensure that Hawaiian claims to the ceded lands are appropriately recognized and protected. Just respectfully urge the committees to kind of take a look at our language and see if that's something that would work. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have one question. As you know, the Admissions Act statutorily requires that one of the statutory purposes under the Admissions Act for the ceded lands corpus is, quote, home ownership on as widespread a basis as possible. Do you propose that 20% of the corpus be used for this purpose, as it is one of the 5 co-equal purposes under that provision?
So the Admission Act, so I think, Senator, what you're referring to is a public land trust, which is actually a subset of the ceded lands. And so the Admission Act, it does recognize that this subset of the ceded lands be held for 5 enumerated purposes. The Constitution currently only identifies the betterment of the conditions of Native Hawaiians as specifically called out purpose, and then talks about OHA being the recipient of the, being responsible for administering those proceeds. So the Constitution is silent as to other purposes and how those are to be allocated. I think the main point that we're trying to raise is a ceded lands corpus, which are those lands that were taken like literally at gunpoint. I mean, I'm not being hyperbolic, but they were literally taken under threat of bloodshed, right? And so the Native Hawaiian claims are still exist based on that historical and ongoing injustice. And so we want to be sure that these claims can be maintained and not foreclosed for super long periods of time, multiple generations, through things such as long-term leases.
Thank you. I have one more question. Can you assure us that the land parcels at Kaka'ako Makai that OHA owns will not be used for market rate housing for non-Native Hawaiians?
I mean, I think we're still going through our planning for those properties. So I mean, I can't really speak to, what those plans would encompass. I mean, so Kaka'ako Makai was, it was transferred as a way to settle the back due payments, which were valued at about $200 million under the public land trust, which again, it's a separate, it's a subset of the ceded lands. And so, ultimately, I think the vision during that time was to provide something that could provide revenue streams that are consistent with that $200 million valuation. And so I think that's what, one of the considerations that, our agency and our board is going to be thinking about when they go through planning for those lands.
Thank you. Members, do we have any questions for OHA or for HPHA? Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on Senate Bill 725? Okay, if not, then we are done with the public hearing portion of the hearing today, and we can go into recess, and we will be back with decision making.
Returning from recess on the GVO and housing agenda, SB 740, establishing the Department of Housing. While having merit, we had a discussion, and given the concerns of the affected departments, we will be deferring this measure and looking at introducing a concurrent resolution to get these agencies, HPHA, HHFDC, Office of Planning, and HCDA together to work collaboratively to see how we may address the #1 problem, the state affordable housing. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Turning it over to Senator Chang for the Housing and GVO Committee.
Thank you, Chair Moriwaki, and thank you for your commitment to continue the conversation on this innovative and important idea. The conversation is only in its infancy now, and I believe that working with a task force, a concurrent reso, and other means will enable us to have a fuller appreciation of the issues involved in the future. So with respect to Senate Bill 725 relating to the Hawaii Public Housing Authority, the Chair's recommendation, having conferred, will be to pass this measure unamended. The Chair notes at this time that in accordance with the discussion that took place during the hearing itself, and as pointed out in the testimony submitted by OHA, that HPHA's statutory mission to provide affordable housing will not be changed as a result of this measure. It will continue as a result of this measure. That 99 years is the minimum length of time necessary to guarantee that a buyer will never have to move before they die, that 65 or 75 or shorter lease terms will not guarantee that. That 99 years is the lease term for DHHL residents, that OHA itself cannot rule out developing market rate housing for non-Hawaiians on their parcels at Kaka'ako Makai, and that public home ownership on as widespread a basis as possible is one of the statutory purposes of the Public Land Trust under the Admissions Act. And that's why the chairs believe that it is not necessary to adopt those amendments at this time. Members, do we have any questions or comments? Okay, if not, the chair's recommendation for the Committee on Housing on Senate Bill 725 is to pass unamended.
His recommendation for Senate Bill 725 is to pass unamended. Chair Chang.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Rhodes.
Aye.
Senator Moriwaki.
Aye.
Senator Favela. Excuse, Chair, you have 4 ayes. Recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
GVO Committee, same recommendation. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Dela Cruz.
Okay, recommendation to pass unamended. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang.
Aye.
Senator Gabbard.
Aye.
Senator Favela. Excused. Recommendation adopted.
This concludes the joint hearing of the GVO and Housing Committees. Thank you all very much for your participation.
Good afternoon and welcome now to the Committee on Housing's 1:15 p.m. agenda. This meeting, including the audio and video of remote participants, is being streamed live on YouTube. You will find links to viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business next Tuesday. I believe that's February 16th at 1 p.m. In room 225. And a public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. For all those participating remotely, all testifier audio will be muted and video disabled until shortly before it is your turn to testify. Please note that the time limit will be 2 minutes per testifier. If there are temporary technical glitches during your turn to testify, we may have to move on to the next person due to time constraints. We appreciate your understanding and remind you that the committee has your written testimony. I'd like to welcome again Vice Chair Drew Kanuha, as well as committee members Moriwaki and Rhodes to today's hearing. Our first measure on today's agenda is Senate Bill 871 relating to housing. This lowers the conveyance tax rates for properties with a value under $2 million. It increases conveyance tax rates for investment properties and requires a percentage of conveyance taxes collected to be deposited into the Housing Finance Revolving Fund. Our first testifier this afternoon is HHFDC with comments, followed by the Department of Budget and Finance with comments. And the first testifier who will be presenting orally is the Department of Taxation with comments.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members. Josh Michaels on behalf of the Director of Tax. We'll stand on our written testimony offering comments. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. The next testifier is also with comments, the Tax Foundation of Hawaii, and they will also be presenting orally.
They're not present, Senator.
Thank you. Several other testifiers. We have the Hawaii Association of Realtors in opposition, the Grassroots Institute of Hawaii with comments, Daniel Lee and Rikako Ishiki, individuals in support, Catherine Camp NIOP in opposition, RBOAA in opposition, Ellen Godby Carson in support, Yulia Muzichenko in opposition. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure, SB 871? Okay, members, do we have any discussion or questions for the testifiers? Okay, if not, we'll proceed to the next measure on today's agenda, which is Senate Bill 1061 relating to housing. This bill repeals the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation's Down Payment Loan Assistance Program and Home Buyers Club program. Our first testifier today is HHFDC in support.
Thank you very much, Chair. We stand on our written testimony in support to repeal these old, obsolete, and unfunded programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next testifier is DBED in support. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on Senate Bill 1061? Members, are there any questions for the testifiers or any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to final item on today's agenda, which is Senate Bill 1280 relating to housing, which authorizes the issuance of general obligation bonds to be appropriated into and out of the Rental Housing Revolving Fund for construction of Phase 1 of a senior affordable housing project on HPHA property on School Street, Oahu. Our first testifier today is the Hawaii Health and Harm Reduction Center in support. Next, we have HPHA in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Thank you very much for hearing this bill. The HPHA is in very strong support. As you are aware, we finished the 201H application. The developer is on track to put in a tax credit application next week on time, and we anticipate shoveling the ground at the end of this year for this much needed 250 elderly, 100% elderly, and 100% affordable for life project located at School Street. Thank you again for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Director. Our next testifier is Department of Budget and Finance with comments. Next is HHFDC with comments.
Thank you very much, Chair. We support the intent. We just wanted to note that we want to be consistent with the executive budget. I think the request is just for 40 million in the first year of the biennium. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next testifier is Catholic Charities Hawaii in support. Betty, you're on mute.
Okay, I thought I was unmuted. Mute. Unmuted now? Okay. Senator Chan, thank you very much for hearing this bill. We definitely strongly support these 250 units, not only for senior housing, but we feel that this will really build a community where seniors can live, learn, and grow, and really remain part of the community, which is so important for their health as seniors get older. And as we know in these senior buildings, people remain there until their 80s and even into their 90s. So this kind of collaborative effort with our Lanakila Multipurpose Senior Center, which is next door and run by Catholic Charities, is a really good opportunity to merge both the health aspects and the social aspects and the housing aspects for seniors. We know that the age wave has hit us. There's a 33% growth of seniors between 2010 and 2018. And this is about over 6 times the regular population, the total population of Hawaii. So we need more housing. We need to prevent homelessness. And we think this is a great project as a start of a eventual 800 units for seniors. So thank you very much for hearing this bill.
Thank you very much. Our next testifier is Aloha Care in support, and Laura Thielen, an individual in support. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on Senate Bill 1280? If not, members, do we have any discussion or questions for the testifiers? Okay, seeing none, at this point, we'll recess the public hearing and we will come back for decision making after recess. Welcome back to the hearing of the Committee on Housing on February 11th at 1:15 p.m. We're now ready for some decision making. The first measure is SB 871 relating to housing. Chair's recommendation will be to pass with amendments. We'll be taking the amendments proposed by HHFDC to exempt transfers of real property for affordable housing development. Also, Budget and Finance, specifying that only conveyance tax revenues above the current general fund deposits be deposited into the Hawaii Finance, the Housing Finance Revolving Fund, as well as Ellen God B. Carson to exempt rental properties from the 3% increase if used for local residents and workforce who occupy the units as a primary residence at least 6 months out of the year. Members, any discussion? If not, the chair's recommendation for SB 871 is to pass with amendments.
Chair's recommendation for SB 871 is to pass with amendments. Chair Chang.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator
Aye.
Senator Rhodes.
Aye.
Senator Favela is excused Chair, you have 4 ayes, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. Our next measure is Senate Bill 1061 relating to housing, and the chair's recommendation will be to pass this measure unamended.
Chair's recommendation for SB 1061 is to pass unamended. Chair Chang.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Moriwaki.
Aye.
Senator Rhodes.
Aye.
Senator Favela is excused. 4 ayes. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. And our final measure today is Senate Bill 1280 relating to housing. The recommendation will be to pass this with amendments suggested by Budget and Finance, that the GO bond funds will be appropriated for fiscal year 2022 only. So again, the recommendation for Senate Bill 1280 is to pass with amendments.
Senate Bill 1280, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair Chang.
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Moriwaki.
Aye.
Senator Rhodes.
Aye.
Senator Favela is excused. 4 ayes. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you, Vice Chair and members. And there being no further business, this hearing is adjourned.